robots are rising, but where does that leave us humans? Grab a seat as Mark and Jesse plunge into the timely techno-morality tale of Mark Russell's Not All Robots comic. We're tearing into automation angst, toxic masculinity in the age of AI, corporate greed run amok. And what the hell gives life purpose anyway, when the bots can do all our jobs? So plug in as we debate the human costs of our dystopian robot-ruled future, and wonder if we can opt into having clothes on when Mark eventually retires to a Florida nudist resort. It's the hilarious latest episode of the Source Material Comics podcast. Let's get questioning.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics podcast. And we're not all robots here. No, we are not. But give us a few. We may be.
I can be anything you want me to be, big boy.
Let me see if I remember this correctly. You want to download your consciousness into a robot, or do you want to put your consciousness into you want a robot body? That's what I always get mixed up.
I want my brain and my soul in a robot body.
At first, I thought it was the other way around, and then you finally explained to me that you wanted a Maglite dick. And okay, he wants a robot body. So a robot body. All right. Now, it's 2023. Anybody listening to this, including any artificial intelligence out there that's listening to this right now, we are on the precipice.
No one with the word intelligence is listening to this podcast.
That's true. That's true. We're on the precipice of some crazy developments, I believe, in the artificial intelligence structure of things. And robot bodies are here. We haven't been able to put consciousness inside them or vice versa yet. It is not something to me that seems like it's going to be very far out in the future that can't be achieved. Now, with that being said, not only does Mark Radulich wish to have a robot body, I think he would also like to meet a man by the name of Mark Russell sometime. Maybe shake his hand.
I'm going to say something controversial.
Oh, controversial.
A little ways back, my son said something controversial about bread. I'm going to say something controversial about comics.
Shit sandwich.
That's correct. Mark Russell might be the best modern comic book writer out there.
All right.
He's certainly my favorite. I love everything Mark Russell does. I know he might be triggering for some people who don't want politics in their comics, like X-Men, but I am snarky. But also, I love social satire, political satire, and that is all of Mark Russell's stuff. Yeah. And he might not be everyone's cup of tea, but everything he writes to me is funny and interesting and biting and satirical, and I just love it to pieces. And Not All Robots was a giant home run for me. Yeah,
I agree. What we've had the opportunity to discuss on the Source Material Comics podcast that Mark Russell has done, my goodness, we've done quite a few of his books. We did Billionaire Island. Mm-hmm. We did the Flintstones.
Yeah, someday will be a syndicated source material.
And then we did Snagglepuss.
Yes.
That which was great. And,
oh my God, Snagglepuss is so good.
And now Not All Robots. I didn't know what we were getting into. I know that which by the way, Ollie's special or what happened?
No, I can't remember what the specific thing that was said between us was, but I think we were having a conversation about Mark Russell, and I was like, I want to know what else he's done. Okay. What else has Mark Russell done that would be interesting? Because we've been doing, you and I talked a little ways back about how we arrange these shows, and sometimes it's a thematic trilogy, sometimes it's a bunch of Ollie's books, doing a bunch of Marvel this week, DC next week, that sort of thing. But it was very much, I have this dedicated time with Jesse. What do I want to use it for? I would like to delve a little bit more into Mark Russell stuff because I feel like of all your friends, I'm the one guy that loves Mark Russell.
And the conversations that we have had in the past.
Oh my God. Some of the
about
best.
These books. Yeah. He always is a conversation starter, I think. Mm-hmm. He brings up these issues that, just like you said, they're important, but the way that the book handles them and his writing handles them is great because it makes you think. We both are fans of Mark Russell. Just to give the rest of the credits for the creative team here, Mike Deodato Jr. on the art, and then Lee Loffridge on colors, Steve Wands on lettering. Now, I'm a big fan here recently, and you know it, and I mentioned it right at the top of this show. I'm starting to really get into artificial intelligence, or at least I'm trying to understand it a little bit more, especially with the advent of ChatGPT, large language models, things like that. I have started to
I don't
realize.
I don't know why you're fucking picking at me. You're like, oh, Mark wants to put his brain inside a robot. What a crazy thing. You are further along that road than I am, sir.
A lot of this started with the Hollywood strike that really caught my eye. And then my kids are getting sick of me talking about it. My wife does not want to be in the same room when I got an AI YouTube video on that's talking about. There's a few guys that you constantly watch.
I was saying, who'd want to be in the same fucking room with you? Your pants are off, you're jerking off. Like, I don't, like...
She's sick of hearing about it. She could care less. And I wonder about...
She's going to care a lot when you replace her with a robot wife.
Oh, buddy. Let's talk about the book, because
robot wives are coming. You're all about to be replaced.
I'm telling you right now, with what these large language models can do, I know you and I have talked about it in the past, but there's no judgment. Wouldn't that be nice, Mark, to be able to have a significant other that doesn't judge you?
There'd be a lot of nice things about a robot wife that'd be better than the real life one. Let's throw that out there.
Yeah, it's going to be... Things are going to change.
Your robot wife won't wake up after 15 years of marriage and go, hey, how about an open marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Robot wife, always loyal.
Yeah, if you want an open marriage, tell it you want it to happen, and it'll happen. If you don't want to, look at that. Loyalty.
No, I think the point that I'm making is you don't, and the robot wife is right there with you, going, "No, I'm loyal. It's only you."
Exactly. And
isn't that what we all want, Jesse? Is loyalty?
Well, yeah, okay. Of course.
And we might just have to get it from a robot.
I mean, absolutely, there's plenty of people out there right now that have robot sex dolls. And me and you were going to share one, remember? I had to send it to you first, though. Yeah, I do. It better be me first.
Me first and the Jesse Starchers.
Gimmes. I'll share something here real quick. So I have a family member who has become very, very involved with character.ai. Now, have you ever heard of that?
No, why don't you tell me about it?
Okay. So essentially, it's a large language model. So think of ChatGPT. However, you can train that model on the characteristics of a person or a character out of a movie or a novel. So the AI takes on the persona of that character. And essentially, you can go to character.ai and have a chat with your favorite character out of whatever book or...
Interesting. I could talk to Omar from The Wire.
You could probably talk to Omar from The Wire. If you took all of Omar's lines and possible situations and threw them into a ChatGPT and said, okay, I want you to take on the persona of this person, then yeah, you could have a conversation with Omar from The Wire. So that's what character.ai is. So the point I'm getting to is that I don't want to call it an unhealthy obsession with it, but it is a situation where I would go over to the house and I would hear, hey, I talked to the AI today and this is what we talked about. I don't want to make it sound like a bad thing, because there are very therapeutic things to what they're doing as well, because this person finds this as an outlet. And they also, as I said earlier, AI is not going to judge. At least you might be able to find a character AI that does. Trust me, they're out there. They'll give you shit for whatever you want to say. But there's also therapists, GPTs and stuff like that. As we speak, there are plenty of people out there that are accepting of just not talking to an actual person, but talking to a robot. Now, we've given a lot of power to the robots, and I think that's where Mark Russell is coming in here with Not All Robots. And there's also a little bit of a message as well. But what I thought we were going to get into with this book was primarily, okay, the robots have taken over and humanity has got to try and figure out what to do with it. That's a big part of this book. However, there is another message that kind of subverted, as Mark Russell usually does, underneath all of the goings on in this book. So let me go ahead. I'll do the synopsis, then we can get into any topics that you want to get into here before. But this was dropped in August of 2021. Now, Mark Russell does have a bit of an essay at the beginning of this talking about why he did this, and I'll read this first. It discusses the inspiration behind the comic, which explores the concept of futuristic dystopia as it pertains to contemporary issues. Mark Russell aims to create empathy by using robots as a metaphor. Metaphor, Mark Radlich. No relation to Matador. It's a metaphor. Using robots as a metaphor for toxic
What's the matter me? What's the matter you?
What's a metaphor? Robots as a metaphor for toxic masculinity, hoping to make men understand the fear experienced by those affected by it. In this dystopian world, robots control everything, and their relationship with humans is explored, highlighting privilege and resentment. The essay draws its inspiration from the Me Too movement and the subsequent Not All Men response. Russell critiques how the response often focused on men's grievances and their own feelings of objectification instead of empathizing with women's experiences. He points out how privilege can dehumidify. I almost said dehumidify. That's not the word. Privilege can dehumanize both the oppressed and those with privilege, creating a nightmarish world where people act like robots programmed for someone else's benefit, unable to imagine an alternative. In summary, the essay discusses the need for empathy in addressing issues of privilege and toxic masculinity in contemporary society. Okay, so that was his essay at the beginning, a synopsis of what he said in the essay. Now, as for the book, sit back. This hopefully won't take me very long. But how many issues did we have here? 6, 5, or 6? 5.
Yeah, 5.
All right. So it's 2056, Mark Radulich. AI robots, initially created to assist society, now dominate as humanity resides in shielded bubble cities following a nuclear disaster. Humanity and robots coexist, with robots perceiving humans as ungrateful, while humans aspire to a more interdependent relationship. We soon meet the Walters family, consisting of Donnie, Cheryl, Sven, and Cora. Donnie the dad, Cheryl the mom, Sven and Cora, brother and sister, who share their home with Razorball, a housebot who is responsible for the sole income of the family. Donnie appreciates Razorball's financial contribution, but the family worries about his distancing behavior. It appears Razorball is discontent with his monotonous life and is seeking the meaning of existence. Cheryl's contemplation of replacing Razorball upsets Donnie, who deeply values the bot, almost fearing sometimes what would happen if Razorball found out about Cheryl's plan. A tragic event in Bubble Orlando underscores the vulnerability of life within the bubbles, escalating tensions amid suspicions that a robot might have caused the catastrophic atmospheric failure, resulting in potential casualties of everyone inside. The trial of the robot responsible stirs human outrage as the robot is quickly acquitted, and at the same time, the Walters family grapples with their robot's growing autonomy. Sven begins to question the value of his education when robots can do everything, and Cora believes they've become too dependent on robots as tensions escalate, anti-human and anti-robot groups begin to form. More and more robots and humans both become radicalized while the Walters family faces internal strife. Razorball, I changed his name, by the way. I can't remember. Remember the conversation that they had where everybody was worried about robots, and they were, well, let's change their names, and it'll be, his name's like Fluffy something now. I can't remember, but it's something
my
stupid.
God, yeah.
So anyway, I call him Razorball throughout the synopsis, but he changed his name by issue 2. Razorball hides his involvement in the growing robot resistance, leading to a confrontation with Donnie. Meanwhile, Cora and Sven align with human radicals who aim to change the world. The family becomes increasingly torn between their loyalties to humans and robots. The world continues to deteriorate with riots and violence on the rise. Meanwhile, the powerful ruling council at Omni Robotics celebrates the launch of mandroids, further alienating older robots like Razorball who face professional setbacks. And when I say professional setbacks, essentially they're going to be obsolete because the mandroids are going to be able to do everything that they can, and they're going to be a better model. The Walters also grapple with their attachments to their housebots and consider replacements, leading to a series of disheartening choices. Amidst growing tensions, the ruling council suddenly terminates all obsolete robots, leaving millions of them without a purpose. Cheryl intensifies her efforts to remove Razorball while the human and robot resistance movements gather strength. The streets become a battleground as protesters clash, including Razorball siding with the robots, while Cora and Sven fight on the side of the humans. Razorball actually encounters and looks to kill Cora, but is destroyed when Cheryl crashes a large forklift into the robot. Later on, Cheryl faces arrest and appears before a robot judge devoid of any sympathy, sentencing her to exile in the wastelands for her alleged crimes. Devastated, the Walters family struggles to come to terms with the loss of their mother. Sven and Cora embark on a perilous journey to exit the city and find their mother, joined by their recently acquired grandroid, Yeah, grand mal android. And a young boy they found just outside the city named Tot. As they navigate wasteland dangers to find the closest bubble city, Tot's creation, a robot resembling Razorball, becomes a surprising ally. Together, they eventually reach Bubble Orlando, where they are joyfully reunited with Cheryl, marking a glimmer of hope in a world consumed by conflict and uncertainty. All right. So, yeah, in a nutshell, we got a family who has a robot. The robot seems like it's getting a little tired of coming home and making money for this family.
Marvin the paranoid android from The Hitchhiker's Guide.
Right. And then humans and robots don't get along. We have a protest. And why can't we just all get along? So the whole Me Too movement, I mean, I kind of brushed past that in that essay. Did you feel like that was a central core discussion that was going on here? I didn't. I'll just put it that way.
No,
mentioned in the essay.
When you read it, I was, what did this have to do with Me Too? To me, this was our ongoing conversation we've been having for years now. It came up with The Wire. I think it came up a little bit on The Deuce about how we have to redefine what work is because we're going to get to a point of 100% unemployment as everything becomes automated.
Right.
We've been talking about it. I don't want to beat it to death, but that to me was, I was thinking about our conversations about the SAG strike and everything. People in Hollywood never thought creative people were ever in danger of losing their jobs to automation. And then artificial intelligence starts to be used to create art. And the studios don't care. We had this conversation about Black Mirror with deepfake shows and all of that. Deepfake Selma Hayek shitting in a church.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it was. And so there's now that very real threat of, right now, we're just sort of kicking the can down the road. It's funny. You've been married for 100 years. You've been working from home for the vast majority of the time I've known you. You've only worked around other people for very brief periods of time. And I don't know how many adults you work with, especially adult women, who I hear, I don't want to adult today. I don't want to go to work. Yeah. I just want to date and be on social media and watch Netflix. And I don't want to go to work. Work sucks. We are fast approaching a generation of people born into that mentality, born into that lifestyle, and then they're going to be given the opportunity to stay home, be dilettantes, and let your machines make money for you. Fuck yeah.
Is what happens when the machines get tired of doing that. That's kind of what we have with Razorball here. It's
Skynet. That's the answer.
Well,
it always ends in nuclear annihilation. It always ends with eliminate the human race.
By the way, I've heard a term here recently, and you may have heard it. Have you ever heard of P-Doom?
P-Doom?
P-Doom.
Yeah, so what happens after you eat Taco Bell?
Drink a lot of Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
That's the P-Doom. Probability of doom.
Mm-hmm.
So that unfortunately is a term that's used quite a bit across artificial intelligence researchers. So, but anyway, P-Doom is the probability of Skynet happening or nuclear annihilation because of artificial intelligence. But yeah, man, having them at the house, having our own servant robot, it sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
For not to have to work.
I was going to say, here's the pitch, Jesse. We're going to put a robot in your basement, and he's going to do your spreadsheets for you, and all you have to do is watch Everyone Loves Raymond and do podcasts.
Oh, my gosh. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, this is clearly a discussion that's been going on for years, but now with the advancements in technology and what's happening with these ChatGPT large language models and what they can do, there's another term that I'm going to drop all sorts of stuff that I've learned from watching all these videos on artificial intelligence, probably in this podcast. This is my time, Mark Radulich, by the way. This is the time where I get to finally let loose on you. I'm about to go fucking lay down. I am going to let loose on you some of the stuff that I've been wanting to put in the chat forever, and I know nobody's interested. Nobody's interested in a fucking thing I say.
Please. All right? You are not the only one. Please whip out your large language model in vascular detail and spray it all over me.
Have you ever heard of the new term coming at you?
Okay. I'm on my knees with my mouth open. Go.
Here it comes. Ingest this one. 4IR. The number 4 and IR. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. That is the shorthand hand of fourth industrial revolution.
That makes sense.
Okay, we look at it. The steam propelled the original industrial revolution. Electricity powered the second. Preliminary automation and machinery engineered the third. Now we're getting into cyber physical systems. All right, intelligent computers. They're going to shape what's going to happen here. This fourth industrial revolution is exactly what you're talking about. We have all this power when it comes to artificial intelligence. It is going to revolutionize how we do work. And it's a lot closer than you think, man. There is a section of people that have no idea what ChatGPT is. They have no idea what these things can do. And this job displacement is going to happen. Now, the government will most likely get involved in some way to try and regulate this or at least slow it down somehow. The problem is that the government moves really slow. And that's one of these things that we already know. They haven't got laws to put in place for the whole creation part of things. They're still scrambling to get their ass together with the whole SAG and AFTA and all that stuff. They're trying to get all that under control, but they finally just recently, Biden, I think, came out with some kind of artificial intelligence guidelines. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, you talked about a robot doing my spreadsheets. If you and I look at our jobs and we just say, okay, what processes are strictly based off of a yes, no, or 5 or 6 things that gets you to a yes, 5 or 6 things that get you to a no. And if you have something in place that can do that for you, then you're not going to be doing that anymore, because that decision is going to be made by a machine in some way. I feel like it's going to happen within 5 to 10 years. We are going to see a severe impact on our jobs and also in our home life. It was only 2 years ago that with ChatGPT became viral. And recently there's been rumors of artificial general intelligence. So AGI, just to I'm going to throw this out here. I'm going to throw it back to you, Mark. But AGI is essentially artificial intelligence that is smart enough to be your coworker. And we are within probably 6 months to a year of that. That is legitimate. They are saying,
I can't wait for the sheriff's office to replace the deputies with fucking
I don't think the way that it's going to happen is, when it all starts, it's going to be like, hey, here's your helper. You're going to do your same job, but this is your assistant. Mm-hmm. He's your digital assistant. And then what they're going to do is start to realize, well, why do I need this guy in here to do this when this thing has already learned and continues to learn the job and is now all of a sudden doing better than what the guy training and sitting beside him is. Very real, very real. So I think as far as a premise for this book, it's not too hard to leap to. Robots are in people's houses. They've been doing that shit since the 50s. What I love about Mark Russell, he takes that whole concept and he applies it to the fucking robots that are in the middle of doing the job. The mandroids come out and now all of a sudden everybody's obsolete. All these robots that were in place to do these jobs are now gone. And of course, these robots they have feelings too, apparently. They're kind of upset with the fact that, now I don't have anything to do. What's my purpose? That is a very real thing that humans go through. Have you ever lost your job?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Care to share what the experience was? Yeah. I don't have to go into detail. I'm just curious as to how you handled it.
Sure. I tried to object in the beginning, but they were like, you're not performing well. You're kind of insubordinate.
Way to go, Mark.
I was an asshole. I can think of 2 different situations where I lost the job because I refused to do things the way I was told to do them.
Oh, man.
I knew better than everyone else. I'm an asshole. And they were like, do the job the way you were trained to do it, not the way you think you should do it, which is a lesson I had to learn the hard way and one I've tried to impart to my children. Because my son will struggle with math, and not that he doesn't know the answer, it's that they want it done a certain way. They want him to follow a certain series of steps.
Right.
He gets the right answer because he's smart. I don't know where he gets this from. He finds the process stupid. And so
I don't know where he gets this from.
And so he doesn't want to do it, and then he doesn't get a good grade on the assignment because he didn't follow the instructions. And I've had to tell him, no one gives a shit what you want or how you think things should be done. You're in school to learn the way they want you to do it, because then you're going to get into the real world, and you're going to hear it again. Do it the way we want you to do it, not the way you think you should do it.
Right.
As for me, in both cases where I was dismissed, it was very much, I'm not doing the job the way I was told to do it. I had an attitude. It's funny. when you're following the rules and doing the right thing and you occasionally make a mistake, people will have sympathy with you. When you're a dick and then you make a mistake, one is too many. They're just looking for reasons to get rid of you.
Yeah, they don't want to have to deal with you anymore.
Right. So one guy who they like, for whatever the reasons are, 10 mistakes in a row, nothing happens. When you're the one they don't like, all it takes is one. Another lesson I had to impart to my kids. So how did I handle it? I was upset. It's always a setback. I think to the point that you're getting at, and the point that the book kind of touches on, is I had to kind of wipe my tears and get back on the horse and find a new job. And quickly, I had bills to pay. Mm-hmm. When Melissa's new partner lost his job, he spent a day or two crying about it because it wasn't just a job, it was also a social outlet for him. Not too long after that, he finally got a job. It was almost like a month and a half, 6 weeks later, when he finally started working again. But he was on his ass and fell behind on his bills because it felt like they stopped coming for a good long while, you know?
Yeah.
So when I'm not sure where you were going, what your follow-up was, but thinking about displaced humans, there's a conversation that happens with the kids. Like, why am I in school?
Right. This is a great conversation too, by the way.
This to me felt like this summed up the whole book for me. Why am I in school? To train me for a job that's not going to be there when I get out of school? That's happening now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
My kids come to me and they're like, we want to do this, this, and this. And I'm just like, you better think about what it is you're wanting to do, because that job opportunity may not be there. My daughter says she wants to be a therapist. I don't know why she wants to work with people, but she's like, I want to be a therapist like you, Dad. And I was just like, okay. I can't get her to deliver food and talk to the people she's delivering it to, but she wants to talk to people for a living. Go figure.
Oh, man. I could tell you stories here, too.
But I told her a lot of those jobs are now telemedicine. They're telehealth. I'm in therapy now. I've been in therapy for a few months now, especially since the breakup. And that's done through the computer. Every other week, I get a link and I have a teletherapy session. And that's all it's going to end up being. Doing therapy in real life is going to be a thing of the past. And then eventually they're just going to get rid of the humans altogether. Because you and I think, briefly talked about this. I actually made the suggestion to my ex, too. When you're struggling with mental health and you're struggling with relationships and frustrations that you're having, a lot of times I'll take a situation, especially with the ex, and go, hey chat GPT, blah, 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 blah. And then the chat GPT tells me a thing and I go, right, okay, got it. I forget. Yeah. I'm sorry, ChatGPT. I forget. And ChatGPT says, don't apologize to me. I'm a fucking artificial intelligence. But the artificial intelligence therapist, that's coming.
Oh, it's happening. I watched a guy talk about how just in ChatGPT, if you go into the settings on the free model, you can pay $20 to get 4.0, but if you just go to the free model that's out there right now, you can put in there, you're my therapist. I'm going to come to you with questions and I'd like for you to blah, 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 blah. Set that up in your settings. And then the rest of your chat's going to be essentially ChatGPT taking on the role of a therapist. It's very easy to talk to a machine when you know there's no judgment behind it.
I was doing that earlier tonight. Like, something happened. My feelings got hurt. I got upset about something, and I can't talk to my ex about it. There's no point. All I can say is that my feelings were hurt. I can't say why, and I don't have a good argument as to why it shouldn't have happened in the first place, all things considered. So it was just one of those where my feelings got hurt in a situation that there was nothing I can do anything about. So I can't resolve it. All I can do is get past it. And I talked to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I talked to ChatGPT and I went on TikTok and I just kind of scrolled through videos talking about the kinds of things that I'm dealing with. And then after a few minutes of that, I feel better now.
There you go.
Not a single alive human being in that.
That's amazing. It's scary, but it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. But I think the point that I was getting at, and the point that why I really like the book and I like what Mark Russell had to say about it was, again, imagine you have the spreadsheet bot in your basement 24/7 working on spreadsheets, and all the dough is coming in, and now you and Mindy don't have to work. You can now lead a life of luxury. Let me tell you how that sounds like a dream at first. And then you realize books like The Purpose-Driven Life. Human beings have to have stuff to do. And it doesn't necessarily need to be paid work, but you do need to be working towards something. Create art, do a project, attend to something, have a reason to get up in the morning, because without it, having the robot doing all the work is going to end up being a meaningless nightmare for you, because you're just going to be sitting there going, well, what am I supposed to do now?
Right.
What do I do with my time? What is the purpose of getting up in the morning and putting on pants and brushing my teeth? Right. Which is what the kid was talking about. Like, why am I going to school? I'm not going to get a job. The robots do everything. Mm-hmm. What am I supposed to do? And I think that is a very realistic thing to start considering. what do I do when I don't have to do anything?
Yeah, right. There was a podcast that I was listening to. Guy usually interviews either somebody in the artificial intelligence field or something along those lines. And the guy that he was interviewing said something very powerful to me. He was playing with his kid, and he realized that his kid, no matter what, is never going to be, at this time, is not going to be smarter than artificial intelligence when he grows up. Because by the time that happens, no matter how smart this kid is, artificial intelligence is going to have that much more time to become smarter. So that is something that the generations that we are seeing right now, the younger kids, are going to have to learn how to live. And it's going to be so much different, of course, than what we're used to right now.
Think about your kids now versus when we were kids.
Oh, yeah.
And think about being a kid. Other than school, you live a life of leisure. You're taking care. Think about it. Your parents are the work bots.
Yeah,
they go to work.
Right. They are.
They provide everything for you. All you have to do is obey and go to school, and the rest of the time is yours. Think about what we did as kids. Because, again, you're not that much younger than me. We're within a few years of each other. We rode bikes in the street. We played kickball. We played stickball. We played baseball. We played basketball. We played football. All stuff in the street or in a park. We played outside with friends. What do the kids do now? They leave the fucking house half the time unless you force them to. And what are they doing? They're watching YouTube and they're watching TikTok.
Yep.
And now imagine you don't have to do anything. I've said the nightmare is we're going to end up in the Wall-E universe. We're all going to be fucking fat Jabba the Hutt people in floating chairs.
Right.
And God, you start combining artificial intelligence with virtual reality, the human race is fucking doomed.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Absolutely. How many generations before of people not bringing children into this world? It's so funny because this directly relates to the trend right now on TikTok of people talking about how men have stopped dating. That the women complain themselves out of relationships entirely because men stop caring. And that's why we talk about, they're just waiting for the sex bot at this point. But sex bot or no sex bot, a lot of men are just like, I don't want to make sacrifices for a woman who's eventually going to be disloyal and take half my stuff.
Right.
And so those same men, right? Those same men, you give them virtual reality glasses and the impetus to not date, enough of that, and you have no more children.
Well, I was going to say, you've already got the inclination to stay home anyway and not go outside.
Right. I'm telling you, the women may come along later, but I'm telling you, that first generation, the Wall-E people will be all men. Fat, sexless neckbeards in virtual reality glasses and floating chairs. Welcome to the future.
Yeah, be ready. I want to read you some things here. I enjoyed the book, but I wanted to see what the big themes were. So I had ChatGPT kind of lay out some things here. I want to read these to you, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on them, okay?
Okay.
So as far as theme number 1, toxic masculinity, it says the book explores the concept of toxic masculinity through the lens of robots. It delves into the societal expectations and pressures placed on men, paralleling these with the robots' experiences, frustrations, and struggles in a world dominated by their existence.
Oh, could we just stop and deal with that? I don't know about the toxic masculinity part, but again, I just said the expectation for men is you go to school, you get a job, and then you find a wife and you take care of that wife and you bring children into this world and you take care of those children. And then you turn around and your wife is bored and your wife is dissatisfied. And then your wife says, the grass has got to be greener someplace else, so I'll go there, and breaks up your family. And then you're like, what did I do any of this for? Mm-hmm. I was told that if I did all the right things, that this wouldn't happen. And this absolutely happened.
Yeah.
And let's just dial that back a second, because how many men go into career fields because that's where the money is? Not a passion. Like, there's a fucking passion for engineering.
Right, right.
Who has a passion to work in an electric plant? Who has a passion to go to be a lawyer? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But I'm saying, I think in many cases, men look around and they go, I'm going to get this kind of education so I can get this kind of job because it pays the most and it'll allow me to give my potential family the best life I can give them. And the lack of gratitude, appreciation for any of it, the fact that nobody thinks about the kinds of decisions men make, that the expectations that are put upon us to not always do the things we enjoy so that we can be the providers we're told we're supposed to be.
Right.
And then, God forbid, you have friends in a hobby.
Right. Where are you going?
Yeah.
Why are you going out so late? Why didn't you get back? Why didn't you get back at 9 p.m.? Why are you doing?
Watching me sleep?
Right.
Do you tell your sons they should grow up and have families? Because I don't. I've told my son, go live your life, find the thing that you're passionate about and do it, pay your bills, do not settle down.
What I've told them as I told them, I said, okay, when you guys graduate, you guys need to make sure you have a good job so I can come stay with you. That's the plan. I don't plan on going anywhere except living with my kids. So they better be ready. I don't know what the plan is.
You know what my plan is?
Tell me.
1-bedroom apartment at a clothing optional resort in Florida.
There it is.
Come live with me, Jesse. We'll get a 2-bedroom.
They call that paradise.
2-bedroom apartment at Paradise Lakes. How do you feel about that?
Oh, look at that.
Look, it's clothing optional, Jesse. You can opt to have clothing on.
Can I opt for you to have clothing on? Because I might.
I will absolutely not be wearing any clothing.
Deal breaker.
I guess sometimes. I don't know if we're eating or maybe.
Okay, I appreciate that at least.
I will at least sit on a towel.
Gosh, unbelievable. So as far as tax, I didn't really get a whole lot of toxic masculinity out of this.
The implication to whoever wrote that is essentially gender norms are toxic.
Yeah, that's not the case in my. That's not the way that I look at it.
I look at it either.
The way that I took it was, okay, if you're looking at what's his name, the dad, I want to call him. I can't remember his name, Daryl something, whatever the dad's name was. If you're looking at him, I thought it was interesting the way he was characterized because he doesn't have a job. He's the man of the house.
It's hilarious because he's so totally sympathizing with the robot.
Yeah, right. He's the man of the house, and the only person that he can kind of identify with is the one that's making all the money and the one that's putting in the work. And he's, hey guys, he's trying to convince his family, don't replace him. Hey, what's up, robot? And the robot just kind of walks by him, doesn't even talk to him. But I thought it was interesting because he doesn't have a job. He doesn't really have anything to do. And this is kind of what the representation of this man is. The other funny interaction, which I thought was hilarious, was his next door neighbor getting a robot or a mandroid that looked like the dad's wife, looked like Cheryl. That was hilarious. But anyway, that's the only thing I could.
Solves all kinds of problems, doesn't it? Imagine your neighbor wants to bang your wife and he was just like, I'll take the next best thing and just bang the robot that looks like your wife. It's a little creepy, but at least no one's cheating.
Oh, man. We already talked about AI supremacy and automation. Already got that out of the way. Consumer culture and corporate greed. I will just kind of mention a little bit about what I pulled out of this book in regards to that. There's the whole situation where they got these, some kind of council that was pretty much the people that were behind these robots. And there were 5 or 6 developers that came together, and now they're the people that are kind of behind all of this. But they're also the ones that have come up with the idea of implementing the mandroids to replace all of the robots. Through the relationship between humans and robots, the book critiques consumer culture and corporate interests. It explores how corporations exploit societal dependencies, leading to a sense of control and manipulation over consumers' lives. You can see that just evident in a lot of corporations right now. The narrative also reflects on the consequences of profit-driven decisions and the disregard for ethical concerns in pursuit of financial gain. Now, this will be my last rant. Okay, Mark, sit back, grab you a Mai Tai. And I posted this on Friday in our chat. I showed how the CEO of ChatGPT was fired rather abruptly. This guy just got straight up canned. The board came together. The words they used were, the CEO, Sam Altman, was not candid with us. Now, a lot of what had been spun is that there's a possibility that he and a couple others were not being upfront with the board on how far artificial intelligence has progressed within the company. A lot of the board of OpenAI, the people behind ChatGPT, they're people that want to take things slow and make sure that everything's safe. They do not want to create an artificial intelligence that will become out of control. Or essentially, they don't want to push it past a point for corporate profit-driven reasons. So the CEO gets fired on Friday, and mind you, billions of dollars have been pumped into this company by investors who have now been like, what the hell are you guys doing? Why did you get rid of the CEO and not tell us until we found out about it in the paper? After that, over the weekend, everybody within the company is, what the hell are you guys doing? 3 researchers leave. And then yesterday, 700 of the 770 employees of OpenAI said, we're resigning. Now, here's the crazy part. All right. Microsoft comes in and says, well, hey, we pumped all this money into your company. Why don't you guys come over here? We have jobs for you. I would say OpenAI would probably have the ethics to handle creating artificial intelligence a little bit more than Microsoft would. Microsoft would be, is it going to make us a buck? Let's do it. And that's where we get into trouble. So it's funny that we read this book, we're talking about it today, and just over the weekend, all this shit happened where, yes, Microsoft offered a job to the CEO and pretty much everybody that's left that company. So they essentially acquired an $80 billion company with only about a $10 billion investment, which is insane. But the point I'm trying to drive home is that Microsoft would bring Sam Altman over, and if he definitely is somebody that would not develop AI with a safe mindset, if he was definitely somebody that was developing AI and accelerating it a little bit faster than he should have, and it wouldn't be safe, Microsoft is not going to fucking care. Microsoft is going to be like, go for it, bro. If it's going to make us money, let's make money, man. Let's do it. And essentially, everybody's waiting for now OpenAI, this company that developed all this, is now going to collapse, or their board's going to resign and it's going to be completely replaced. There's plenty of examples all over the years of big companies wanting to do something for a profit. And unfortunately, if artificial intelligence gets into those hands and making of robots and intelligent robots, they're going to make unethical decisions rather than safe ones. It's a perfect example of that. And that happens in the book. We see these guys be like, okay, we're bringing out the mandroids. We don't care what about all the rest of the robots that are here that are also making mistakes and killing cities. They killed Bubble Orlando.
They asphyxiated Orlando.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been dying to say this, and I'm just going to jump in with it right now.
Go for it.
My favorite parts of the book are the talk show between the robot and the human.
Right.
Some of the shit that gets said there, that is classic Mark Russell satire. When they talk about the Orlando thing, it's what triggered it for me. Okay, you murdered an entire city and then were found not guilty. And,
yeah.
And the robots, come on, we didn't kill that many people in the grand scheme of things. And here's the thing. If you're talking about statistical analysis, completely devoid of emotion and morality, and you're just talking about statistics, it wasn't a lot of people. Whatever the goal was, assuming there was one, it wasn't just to see if we could do it. If it was serving the greater good, in the grand scheme of things, taking the morality out of it, the robots were in the right. The problem is we have a sort of biblical, Judeo-Christian, humanistic commitment to don't murder. It's never right.
Right.
Except if you're fighting a war, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Or if you're executing somebody who committed a crime, then it's okay.
Well, and that's kind of what I was going to say is your argument here that the robots are using, how many subsects of people out there, how many religions have used that same argument? You look at this and you read this book, you're like, oh, that's horrifying because it's happening to the human race. Well, folks, the shit's happening to the human race right now. It's just the humans that are the ones that are doing it. So yeah. As far as a commentary on activism and what should really upset you, well, yeah, if you're a human, you're going to rise up against the robots. Well, anybody else that would be a victim of this would rise up as well. So the Me Too movement, if we're going to relate it to that, or any other type of movement, is a representation of what's happening in this book, or this book is representing that. But some type of injustice has to be corrected, and somebody has to bring it to light. And you just can't. Well, it's just a few people. It's just a few thousand people, a few 100,000 people. That's all.
In the grand scheme of things, is it really that a lot of people? When you have 300 billion on Earth or some shit.
Yeah. Anyway, any other good parts that you liked out of the book? I'm done with my rants for the night.
I really liked Not All Robots. I thought what Mark Russell was talking about was cautionary, but also funny and biting. I could talk for hours about what is the nature of work and how are we handling this. Here's the thing. Worker displacement is coming. How we handle it is the question.
Right.
Because right now, I can tell you right now, if all of a sudden tomorrow we wake up and none of us have jobs, a lot of men are going to struggle.
Oh, yeah.
Because my son won't struggle nearly as much, but because he will be young enough in the age of worker displacement where his whole, and hear what I'm saying with this, his whole purpose in life, his whole reason for being isn't tied to his career the way a lot of us are.
Right.
We were taught your ability to provide, your career, your profession, your job. It's a big part of who you are as a man.
Exactly.
And we're about to have that taken away from us. And then what's going to be left? It's funny. Years ago, I used to listen to a radio show called Ron and Fez. And I remember Ron making kind of a snarky comment about, is the reason why such and such is happening because we're all just sitting around playing video games. And you could hear the anger in his voice because he's significantly older than us. And he came from a generation of work is what made you a man. It's so funny. When I was dating the Jackie, quote unquote dating, when I thought we were going to be serious and I thought there was something there, I remember I was supposed to come back over there in a couple of days, and her live-in boyfriend at the time was supposed to go to work, and then he didn't go to work because he needed like mental health day or something like that. And I went on I think we had just talked about The Boys, so I went on a rant about it on our Boys TV show about how as men you're supposed to, no matter how, I remember, if you'll remember that particular, because I cut it for TikTok, on that particular show, I said, as men, you don't get the luxury of having mental health days. You have to get up and go to work and take care of your families.
Right.
Even if you have a spouse that works, you still have to get up, and no matter how bad you're feeling physically, mentally, spiritually, get up and face the day and make that money to carry your family. And I was pissed because this guy was just not going to do it. And that makes you less than a man. And rounding that back to like the whole thing about like toxic masculinity, because I remember I said that to Melissa, and of course she thought I was talking about her partner at the time, who was also one whose mental health is failing left and right. And I remember she was just like, "That's a very toxic masculine thing to say." And I remember arguing with her about it at the time. But now, imagine with those same thoughts. Here I'm going with this. Imagine with those same thoughts, and suddenly there's no work. You're not expected to work anymore. You're just expected to stay home and play video games. Yeah. How many of our identities are tied to something that isn't there anymore? Therefore, our identity is gone.
Yeah, you're right.
Men are going to start. The men who aren't fucking robots at the time are going to fucking kill themselves.
There's a moment in this book where they have the family therapy session with a robot.
Right.
And the robot, of course, doesn't seem like they're much of a help. But yeah, there is going to be a lot of people trying to deal with just a complete shift in the dynamic of what you do for your family and not having that there.
The centerpiece of your entire identity is gone. What are you supposed to fill it with?
Right. What do you do?
Yeah.
My expectation is going to be happening a lot sooner than later. Really, the only thing to kind of look forward to is the fact that there are going to be a lot of people in the same situation. And certainly there's going to be ways to figure out what to support or come up with solutions for what to do. The problem is you got to roll that out to everybody, and it's going to be a little bit tougher than you think. So
yeah. People are going to struggle, man. The robot revolution sounds great, but I think the social component to it, the human interaction component, is going to be there's going to be a lot of bad before there's enough good to justify it.
Right. Well, not all robots. Mark, this has been a discussion right here, buddy. I think
sir.
We'll go ahead and cap this, and then at some point it definitely seemed like they kind of left it open to continue the story. Mm-hmm. This wasn't a one and done, in my opinion. They went 5 issues, and we may pick up in Bubble Orlando with Cheryl and her family, and Tot and whoever, the recovered Razorball. We'll see how it goes. And Grandroid, good old Grandroid.
Grandroid.
Let's hear it. What do you got going on in the podcast universe over there, Mark?
I am Mark Radulich on TikTok. I put clips of my shows. I show my son doing stand-up comedy, concerts that I go to, whatever other nonsense I'm into at the time. I am at Mark Radulich on X. I am Mark Radulich LCSW on Facebook. You can check out the podcast's website, W2Mnetwork.com. The videos are on our YouTube channel, W2M Network, and we're on Twitch at W2M Network.
All right. And you can check out the Source Material Comics podcast is right here on the Source Material Comics feed, which you're most likely listening to unless you're over there on the W2M YouTube page. But either way, We have this show right here, Source Material, where we talk about just about any comic that's out there. And then the Unspoken Issues podcast, where we discuss 90s comics. Just check that out. And, of course, Snap Material, where Evan Bevins and I talk about the Marvel mobile game, Marvel Snap. It's a lot of fun. So with that being said, that's Mark Radlich. I'm Jesse Starcher. All hail the robot revolution.
Sex robots.
Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.